Okay, you guys ready? Good morning. The Committee on Science, Space, and Technology will come to order. Without objection, the chair is authorized to declare recesses of the committee at any time. Pursuant to Committee Rule 2F and House Rule 11, recorded votes may be postponed. Today we meet to consider H.R. 2984, the Astro Act, H.R. 2600, the Ascend Act, H.R. 2313, the Celestial Time Standardization Act, H.R. 2613, the Next Generation Pipelines Research and Development Act, H.R. 1223, the Anchor Act, and H.R. 3029, the Nucleic Acid Standards for Biosecurity Act. I now recognize myself for an opening statement. Good morning. Thank everyone for joining us for this markup at the 119th Congress, the very first one of the year. We've kicked off the year with a strong start, holding a series of hearings focused on many pressing issues across our science and technology sectors. Today, we build on that momentum by advancing 6 important bills that will promote innovation, drive industrial modernization, and strengthen America's economic and global competitiveness. First, we will consider 3 space-related bills that aim to enhance our scientific research, increase astronaut safety, and support continued U.S. leadership in space exploration. H.R. 2984, the Astro Act, is a bill that I'm proud to sponsor. It originated from discussions that I had with our nation's astronauts following their return from their brave missions. After spending extended time in space, astronauts often experience medical impairments upon returning home, making it challenging to operate motor vehicles. However, they are required to participate in critical medical studies to inform future exploration efforts, which involve traveling to and from the Johnson Space Center until they're medically cleared. The Astro Act is sensible legislation that eliminates procedural obstacles, ensures astronauts have reliable, hassle-free transportation for medical evaluations until they are fully cleared. This bill will aid in their recovery, protect their health, and uphold the integrity of NASA's human spaceflight operations. I am honored to advocate for improved astronaut safety and remain committed to cutting unnecessary red tape in our space sector. Next, we will consider H.R. 2600, the Ascend Act, sponsored by Representatives Hurd and Bonamici. NASA's Commercial Satellite Data Acquisition Program expanded the agency's observational capabilities in recent years by leveraging high-quality, cost-effective data from the commercial space sector. The Ascend Act formally authorizes this vital initiative, ensuring its long-term effectiveness and leveraging commercial data and meeting NASA's operational requirements. Representative McClellan, a former member of the SST committee, leads our final space bill, H.R. 2313, the Celestial Time Standardization Act. As we pursue ambitious missions to the Moon, Mars, and beyond, establishing a coordinated celestial time standard is essential to ensuring their success. This bill creates a unified time standard for space operators, allowing the United States and its international partners to effectively coordinate position, navigation, timing, communication, and research across the space domain. By leading the development of these standards, the U.S. will reinforce its leadership in space exploration and strengthen its global competitiveness. Shifting gears to the energy sector, our next bill addresses the needs of our nation's aging infrastructure. The U.S. pipeline network spans nearly 2.8 million miles across the country and averages more than 60 years in age. To maintain these systems and adapt to emerging fuel sources, we must support research and technology that improve safety, reliability, and longevity. H.R. 2613, the Next Generation Pipelines Research and Development Act, strengthens public-private partnerships and advances federal research, development, and demonstration efforts to modernize existing infrastructure and to develop next-generation pipeline systems. Thank you to Representative Weber and Ross for recognizing these challenges and taking action to revitalize our pipeline network through this important legislation. Lastly, we will consider two research and technology bills that provide important security upgrades to our research systems and promote innovative advancements within our scientific community. Our U.S. academic research fleet conducts vital oceanographic research in some of the world's most isolated regions. H.R. 1223, the Anchor Act, will ensure that these mobile laboratories have modern and reliable cyber infrastructure and communication systems to meet today's research and security demands. I want to thank Representatives Fong and Stevens for their work in bringing this legislation forward to address key gaps in the fleet cybersecurity posture. Our final bill focuses on strengthening and protecting our nation's rapidly growing biotechnology sector. Synthesizing nucleic acids is a common practice in advanced biotech research, but the lack of consistent security screening has created critical vulnerabilities. H.R. 3029, the Nucleic Acid Standards for Biosecurity Act, empowers NIST to establish a public-private consortium that will develop technical standards and best practices for screening synthetic nucleic acids. This stakeholder-driven effort will equip the industry with expert guidance and cutting-edge tools, positioning the United States to lead in safeguarding essential biotechnology innovation while reducing national security risks. Thank you to Representatives Salinas and McCormick for their leadership in crafting this legislation. Once again, I want to express my appreciation for our members' bipartisan collaboration in presenting such future-focused bills. I look forward to a productive markup as we continue working toward our goal of restoring America's leadership in transformative technologies all across the sectors. And now I'd like to recognize the ranking member for 5 minutes for her opening statement.
Well, thank you, Chairman Babin, and thanks for holding today's markup, the first Science Committee markup of this Congress. Unfortunately, this Congress has already revealed itself to be one of the most challenging in my tenure, but regardless, I am committed to the type of bipartisan cooperation that has made this committee exceptionally productive, no matter who is in the majority, and it's my sincere hope that in this room we can continue to do the good work that our nation relies on, where we support scientific advancement and invest in innovation that will help create a healthy, safe, fruitful future for all Americans. And with that in mind, I will note that these good bipartisan bills we're considering today, all of which have already been considered in this committee, are well in keeping with our strong bipartisan history. First, as you've noticed, the Astro Act would eliminate burdensome and unnecessary bureaucratic complications. The Ascend Act, led by Representative Hurd and Bonamici, would codify an existing program begun after the NASA pilot program that will help make sure that the NASA's Earth System Science program remain productive. The Celestial Time Standardization Act does something that at one point in our history we never thought would need to be done. What time is it? We're going to ask NASA and OSTP to develop celestial time standards for future operations on the moon. Next, the Next Generation Pipeline Research and Development Act is very important. Our nation's infrastructure includes nearly 2.8 million miles of pipeline, and half of these are over 60 years old and susceptible to leaks and other defects. This bill is critical to ensure that we're doing all we can to minimize risks associated with aging pipelines. Next, the Anchor Act is important, sponsored by Mr. Fong and Ms. Stevens. The U.S. academic research fleet is made up of 18 oceanographic vessels. This fleet struggles with networking and cybersecurity challenges, and that does hinder scientific output and puts critical ocean science projects at risk. It does direct the National Science Foundation to collaborate with other appropriate agencies. And although our bill is bipartisan, I do want to note that while we are working here in good faith together, DOGE and the executive branch has taken a chainsaw to some of the staff at NSF, so I am concerned about their capacity to implement this bipartisan effort. The last bill, the Nucleic Acid Standards for Biosecurity Act, is very important, introduced by Ms. Salinas and Mr. McCormick. Again, this bill, as you've said, does direct NIST to support development best practices. Again, with the chainsaw in the executive branch and the sort of indiscriminate staffing reductions at NIST, I do have concerns that the administration may not be able to implement this bipartisan direction. But they are important efforts, and I want to commend colleagues on both sides of the aisle for their leadership on these bills. Of course, each of these bills is going to require funding to make sure that they actually are adequately implemented. With that, Mr. Chairman, I think we will have a swift markup. I would remind all the members on my side of the aisle that speaking concisely and making your point is as important as using your entire 5 minutes. And with that, I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. And I would now like to, pursuant to notice, I now call up H.R. 2984, the Astro Act. So the clerk will report the bill. If we can get her mic'd up. Are you on, Joyce? Why don't you speak loudly, Joyce? Oh, she's got a mic. Okay, thank you. Your cheerleader voice.
H.R. 2984, a bill to amend Title 31, United States Code to authorize...
Without objection, the bill is considered as read and open for amendment at any point. Does any member wish to be recognized to speak on the underlying bill? I recognize myself for 5 minutes to speak in support of the bill. I am pleased to sponsor H.R. 2984, the Astronaut Safe Temporary Ride Options Act, or the Astro Act for short. As a representative of NASA's Johnson Space Center, one of the great honors I have is the opportunity to meet with astronauts, both as they prepare to go into space and after they have returned from their missions. The brave men and women who wear the iconic blue flight suits make significant personal sacrifices and risk their very lives to advance scientific discovery and America's leadership in space. For extended periods, the astronauts operate in the unforgiving conditions of space, which often negatively impact the human body. But their important work does not end upon their return to Earth. It continues, whether through scientific monitoring, engaging with the public about their time in space, or other official duties. When these astronauts return home, we must make certain that they have every resource necessary to continue their important work and safely adjust to life back here on Earth. The Astro Act is a straightforward, common-sense measure that puts astronaut health and mission safety first. The NASA administrator already has the authority to transport crew members returning from space to and from their home and the Johnson Space Center for medical testing. This bill simply eliminates unnecessary red tape by allowing the administrator to approve this transportation more efficiently. By streamlining post-flight support, we protect our astronauts, sharpen mission turnaround, and let NASA focus on exploration, not paperwork. And this is exactly the kind of practical, bipartisan legislation that our committee should advance, and I urge my colleagues to vote favorably on this bill out of committee. Would anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, I agree that this is an important act, and it makes total common sense. And I would just add that the work that astronauts do inspiring young people in schools is very important. We had an astronaut come down to meet with a group in Hollister, California, in my district, and had a profound impact on those young people, and to expedite that will serve us all very well, and I support the bill and yield back.
Yes, ma'am. I thank the ranking member. Is there further discussion on this bill? Hearing none, if there's no further discussion on the underlying bill, we'll proceed with amendments in the order listed on the roster. No amendments were pre-filed for this bill. Does any member wish to offer an amendment at this time? Hearing none, a reporting quorum being present, I move that the committee report H.R. 2984, the Astro Act, to the House with the recommendation that the bill be favorably approved. The question is on favorably reporting H.R. 2984 to the House. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the bill is ordered favorably reported without objection. The motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. Now, pursuant to notice, I now call up H.R. 2600, the Ascend Act. The clerk will report the bill.
H.R. 2600, a bill to require the administrator of the National Aeronautical...
Without objection, the bill is considered as read and open for amendment at any point. Does any member wish to be recognized to speak on the underlying bill? Representative Hurd, yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I am pleased that the committee is considering my legislation, H.R. 2600, the Accessing Satellite Capabilities to Enable New Discoveries Act, or the Ascend Act. Through commercial licensing, federal agencies and researchers gain access to high-quality data that supports wildfire management, agricultural monitoring, disaster preparedness, reforestation, and more. This is an effective model where private sector investments directly support public sector missions. Many of these companies are part of Colorado's growing commercial space sector. This data can complement NASA's Earth observation missions while also being more cost-effective to procure. In 2017, NASA established a pilot program called the Commercial Smallsat Data Acquisition, CSDA, to identify and evaluate commercial Earth remote sensing capabilities for use within NASA research and to establish new processes to acquire and use these data products. The CSDA pilot program proved to be a great success, with participating scientists finding commercial data sets to be both reliable and highly valuable for a wide range of research applications. The Ascend Act would build upon the success of CSDA by formally authorizing the program. This bill directs the NASA administrator to establish a commercial satellite data acquisition program within NASA's Science Mission Directorate, allowing the agency to access cost-effective commercial satellite data to supplement existing Earth observations. The bill allows the administrator to both obtain data needed by agencies and scientists and also encourage the continued growth of the commercial space industry. Additionally, the legislation requires the administrator to submit an annual report to Congress describing the implementation of the program, such as the types of data acquired, the sources, and the use of such data within NASA, as well as any impacts. This data has many important uses for Coloradans. Farmers across the state will benefit from the data collected under Ascend, which can either be used for precision agriculture or for other farm uses. This data will help protect Colorado communities by informing more accurate weather predictions and better preparation efforts. This is essential for the producers who grow the food that we eat. By leveraging advancements in the private sector, we're ensuring that America remains at the forefront of scientific discovery and technological advancements for generations to come. Now is the time for Congress to reaffirm our support for this program by enacting it into a statute thus ensuring its continued growth and success for the federal scientific community. I want to thank Chairman Babin and Ranking Member Lofgren for considering this important legislation. I also want to thank Representative Bonamici for co-sponsoring this bill. I urge my colleagues to support this vital legislation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and with that, I yield back.
And I thank the gentleman from Colorado. Now I'd like to recognize the gentlewoman from Oregon.
Thank you so much, Chair Babin, and thank you, Ranking Member Lofgren, and of course, thank you to Representative Hurd for your partnership in reintroducing the Ascend Act, a bill that was proud to help the House pass twice in the last Congress. NASA's Earth Science Division leads the way in understanding the complex, changing, and interconnected systems that sustain life on Earth. As the commercial small satellite or small sat industry continues to grow, we have more technology above us than at any time in history. Since 2017, NASA and federally funded researchers have harnessed small sat data to study the planet, gaining insight that we simply couldn't have otherwise. Small sat data is helping scientists detect harmful algal blooms before they poison coastal ecosystems, measure wildfire emissions and predict burn patterns with greater precision, and monitor crop health to help farmers boost yields and secure our food supply. This isn't just about clearer satellite images, it's about stronger science, smarter solutions, and safer communities. Commercial satellites are now so advanced that they can track sea level changes, measure soil moisture, and even spot methane leaks, all from orbit. That means faster response to disasters, better planning for droughts, and stronger climate resilience. So I'm happy to join my colleague, Representative Hurd, in co-leading the Ascend Act, a bipartisan and straightforward solution that authorizes NASA's proven commercial smallsat data acquisition program. The program has already demonstrated its value. It fills critical data gaps. It empowers research that leads to the next generation of breakthroughs. And as I mentioned, it already passed the House twice last year with bipartisan support. At a time when our planet's systems are changing fast, we need to support federally funded science. It's not just important, it's urgent. We must give our scientists the best tools available to keep pace with the challenges ahead. I would like to enter into the record letters in support of the Ascend Act from Planet Labs, Commercial Space Federation, and Maxar Intelligence.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And before I yield back, I want to note that we're having this markup in the Science Committee, a very bipartisan committee throughout my time in Congress, at a time when our science agencies and staff are under attack. And I hope that this committee can join together to acknowledge the importance of scientists and researchers and work together to fund, not gut, science agencies like NOAA, NASA, NSF, and NIST. We are always looking for smarter, better ways to do things. The chainsaw approach is not working. So I urge all of my colleagues to support this important piece of legislation, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Thank you. And now I'd like to recognize the gentlewoman from New York, Ms. Gillen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Ranking Member Lofgren, for holding today's markup and advancing all of the bipartisan bills that are under consideration today. I'm proud to support H.R. 26, the Ascend Act, a bipartisan bill introduced by my colleagues Representative Hurd and Bonamici to codify NASA's commercial satellite data acquisition program. Mr. Chairman, my district on Long Island has experienced severe national disasters such as Superstorm Sandy, which devastated our coastlines, our communities, caused mass flooding and mass destruction. Without real-time and post-disaster data provided via commercial satellites under NASA's Earth Sciences program, New York's first responders and climate scientists would be significantly less prepared to save lives and respond when disasters strike. Satellite research and data collection within NASA's Earth Sciences program provides vital information helping our first responders and our researchers to understand and respond to natural disasters and important other natural events. Congress has had a long-standing bipartisan record of support for this program with a wide range of stakeholders, and especially those who work tirelessly every day to prepare for our next natural disaster. The commercial space and satellite industry is an important component of American space leadership, and it is essential to providing cost-effective outcomes for NASA and American researchers. Most American satellites are commercially owned and launched by the private sector. Congress should ensure that NASA and American researchers can continue to access and share high-quality satellite data. I urge my colleagues to join me in supporting this bipartisan, common-sense legislation to authorize the commercial satellite data acquisition program. Thank you so much, and I yield back.
Thank you. And I now recognize the ranking member from California.
Just very briefly, Mr. Chairman, in addition to the true things said by my colleagues on both sides of the aisle, this has an important role to play in terms of wildfires. We have seen devastating fires, not only in California, but elsewhere in the West, but now in the Carolinas and elsewhere. This will provide very important data in the fight against that. And with that, I yield back.
Absolutely. Thank you. If there is no further discussion on the underlying bill, we'll proceed with the amendments in the order listed on the roster. No amendments were pre-filed for this bill. Does any member wish to offer an amendment at this time? Hearing none, a reporting quorum being present, I move that the committee report H.R. 2600, the Ascend Act, to the House with the recommendation that the bill be favorably approved. The question is on favorably reporting H.R. 2600 to the House. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the bill is ordered favorably reported. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. Okay. Pursuant to notice, I now call up H.R. 2313, the Celestial Time Standardization Act. The clerk will report the bill.
H.R. 2313, a bill to require the administrator of the...
Without objection, the bill is considered as read and open for amendment at any point. I hate to interrupt you. I'm sorry there, clerk. Does any member wish to be recognized to speak on the underlying bill?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
will say that
You're recognized.
this bill will lead to the establishment of a basic but critical conceptual tool for future operations and infrastructure on and around the moon and other celestial bodies. I want to thank our former SST colleague, Ms. McClellan, for her thoughtful bill, and I yield back.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Any further discussion on this bill? Nope. If there's no further discussion on the underlying bill, we'll proceed with the amendments in the order listed on the roster. No amendments were pre-filed for this bill. Does any member wish to offer an amendment at this time? Hearing none, a reporting quorum being present, I move that the committee report H.R. 2313, the Celestial Time Standardization Act, to the House with the recommendation that the bill be favorably approved. The question is on favorably reporting H.R. 2313 to the House. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The bill is ordered favorably reported. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is then laid upon the table. Pursuant to notice, I now call up H.R. 2613, the Next Generation Pipelines Research and Development Act. The clerk will report the bill.
H.R. 2613, a bill to improve...
Without objection, the bill is considered as read and open for amendment at any point. Does any member wish to be recognized to speak on the underlying bill?
Mr. Chairman.
I recognize the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Weber.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With half of America's pipelines over 60 years old, that's almost as old as I am, defects and irregularities are bound to become more frequent. Looking ahead, we can also expect pipelines to be the primary way to transport new energy sources such as hydrogen, carbon dioxide, and yes, methane, each poised to power the next era of American energy, dominance, independence, as well as security. Therefore, we cannot let fear-mongering associated with pipelines succeed in killing a key piece of our domestic energy infrastructure. There are approximately 2.8 million miles of gas and liquid pipelines in these United States, most of which are unseen, unappreciated, and even undervalued. I'm proud to say that over half of those pipelines, 500,000 of those pipelines rather, are in my home state of Texas and contribute, get this, $374 billion with a B dollar in total economic output. It's huge. That's because pipelines transport oil and gas safely 99.999% of the time. Yet, during the rare 0.001% of their 24/7 operation, when a failure does occur, it makes headlines. And then anti-pipeline sentiment surges, driven more by fear than facts. The truth is pipelines are safe, efficient, and reliable, especially if you compare them to accidents from planes, trains, cars, and trucks. Pipelines are reliable, safe, and efficient. The bill that I got to introduce this morning with the gentlelady from North Carolina, and earlier one this year, is the one we're marking up today. That's H.R. 2613, the Next Generation Pipeline Research and Development Act. It meets these challenges head on by refocusing federal attention on modern pipeline research and development. This bill promotes new public-private projects and it strengthens existing partnerships to both maintain current pipeline infrastructure and develop the next generation of pipeline systems. By driving technological innovation, this bill will reinvigorate the domestic energy sector's work on multi-fuel transport, advanced materials, and even leak detection capabilities. To achieve this, the Next Generation Pipeline R&D Act establishes a demonstration initiative within the Department of Energy targeting early-stage, lower technology readiness projects. This demonstration initiative will serve as a stepping stone to commercialization for research conducted by both the Department of Energy and the Pipeline and Hazardous Material Safety Administration, PHMSA. On the research front, H.R. 2613 codifies and updates a joint program involving the Department of Energy, the Department of Transportation, and the National Institute of Standards and Technology. And while these agencies have collaborated on similar initiatives since a 2004 Memorandum of Understanding, this is actually the first update in nearly 2 decades. Finally, this bill directs the Department of Energy to establish a National Pipeline Modernization Center enabling industry and stakeholders to work with federal agencies in coordinating critical pipeline research needs. I want to thank my colleague, again, Ms. Ross, for upholding the bipartisan tradition of this SST committee and working with me on this important legislation. In addition to my work, on this committee, I also serve on the Energy and Commerce Committee, where we continue to prioritize advanced pipeline legislation. H.R. 2613 is a common-sense, good governance bill we can all agree on. It passed with overwhelming bipartisan support last Congress, both out of this committee and on the House floor. This bill demonstrates that Republicans and Democrats can set aside our differences and promote meaningful legislation that enhances U.S. leadership in energy research and ensures a strong return and a safe one on the investment of American taxpayers. I urge my colleagues to support this bill, and before I yield back, I want to say kudos and thanks to my colleague across the aisle. I yield back.
Thank you, and now I'd like to recognize the gentlewoman from North Carolina, Ms. Ross.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you so much to Congressman Weber for his leadership. It's great to work with him. We just got back from a Codell together on energy policy, so hopefully more to come.
Both of our spouses were there, just so y'all know.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. The American pipeline system is a vast network of over 1 million miles of pipes underneath our cities and towns that supply energy to millions of homes and businesses. This vast infrastructure, however, is aging. A significant portion of this network was built during the 1930s or even earlier. As it gets older, it becomes more susceptible to leaks, which waste gas and have a lasting impact on our climate. And many of these pipes transport methane, a greenhouse gas many times more potent than CO2. With estimates that pipelines are leaking millions of tons of methane each year, it's imperative that we move fast to modernize this critical infrastructure. This bipartisan bill would support research and development and public-private partnerships to address some of the major challenges facing our nation's aging pipeline infrastructure. H.R. 2613 would build upon and expand the pipeline safety and innovation capabilities of the Department of Energy by facilitating a joint research program with the Department of Transportation's Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, PHMSA, and the National Institute of Standards and Technology. This coordinated interagency program can spur important research, development, and demonstration activities into advanced pipeline leak detection, mitigation tools, and many other technology areas that would reduce the environmental impacts of American pipelines. This initiative will also help move promising technologies out of the lab and into commercial application. And to be clear, this bill goes well beyond the challenges that our nation is currently facing with natural gas leaks. It would also support innovation to address potential issues with pipelines carrying water, biofuels, which is something that I worked on in the private sector, CO2, and hydrogen as well. For all of these reasons, I urge all of my colleagues to support this bipartisan legislation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.
Thank you. Now I'd like to recognize the ranking member from California.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A little over a decade ago in San Bruno, California, which is just a short drive from my district and where I spent the first several years of my young life, a terrible pipeline accident occurred. A natural gas pipeline exploded. The fires raged for hours. The explosion was so powerful that USGS registered it as a small earthquake. The accident destroyed a neighborhood and tragically killed 8 people. In the aftermath of that tragedy, an investigation revealed a series of accidents and horrendous errors that led to the overpressurization of the pipeline, which caused the explosion. PG&E, the pipeline operator, was criminally prosecuted as a result of the investigation. Now, while the cause of that tragedy was largely the result of severe mismanagement by the utility, I want to highlight it because the bill before us today tasks the DOE with developing and demonstrating technologies that could well have alerted authorities of the dangerous situation that caused the San Bruno pipeline accident. These technologies could have prevented that accident from happening. I think that alone would make this a worthy investment. However, the bill also addresses the environmental issues associated with our aging pipeline infrastructure. We know that our country will have various kinds of pipelines transmitting oil and natural gas for many years. We should all be doing what we can to ensure that those transmission systems are as clean and environmentally friendly as possible. It doesn't do any of us good to have methane leaking out of pipelines and into the atmosphere. It's also worth noting that leaks from other types of pipelines, including those carrying water, hydrogen, biofuels, or carbon dioxide, can harm the environment in various other ways. This bill has a heavy focus on preventing, detecting, and mitigating these kinds of environmentally damaging leaks. We had in the last Congress Mr. Mullen as a member of this committee. He left to go to the Energy and Commerce Committee, but San Bruno is in his district, and I know that he is grateful to us on taking this action. I'll strongly support the bill, and I want to thank Mr. Weber and Ms. Ross for their work on this bill, and I yield back.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion on the underlying bill, we'll proceed with amendments in the order listed on the roster, but no amendments were pre-filed for this bill. Does any member wish to offer an amendment at this time? Hearing none, a reporting quorum being present, I move that the committee report H.R. 2613, the Next Generation Pipelines Research and Development Act, to the House with the recommendation that the bill be favorably approved. The question is on favorably reporting H.R. 2613 to the House. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the bill is ordered favorably reported. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. Pursuant to notice, I now call up H.R. 1223, the Anchor Act. The clerk will report the bill.
H.R. 1223.
Without objection, the bill is considered as read and open for amendment at any point. Does any member wish to be recognized to speak on the underlying bill?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Fong, I recognize you, gentleman from California.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise today in strong support of my bill, H.R. 1223, the Accelerating Networking, Cyber Infrastructure, and Hardware for Oceanic Research Act, also known as the Anchor Act. I urge my colleagues to support this bill because it addresses a critical and urgent need, safeguarding the integrity of our nation's academic research fleet and ensuring that the valuable data collected at sea remains secure from emerging threats. It's about protecting the future of American science, innovation, and national security. Our research fleet is a cornerstone of scientific advancement. Since the 1960s, these vessels have supported federally sponsored missions that impact everything from human health and energy development to ocean hazards and national security. They are laboratories at sea collecting data that fuels critical decision-making here on land. However, these ships face modern challenges. Right now, they lack the secure cyber infrastructure needed to protect sensitive data and communicate reliably across global networks. That leaves them vulnerable to cyber threats from foreign adversaries. Data is the heartbeat of scientific progress. It informs policy, it drives discovery, it strengthens our ability to respond to crises and compete on the world stage. As we invest significantly in this work, we must ensure that this data is protected, that our researchers have the tools they need, and that the outcomes of their work remain in secure hands. The Anchor Act directs the National Science Foundation to create a comprehensive plan to upgrade the cybersecurity and communication systems on these vessels to add another layer of protection where it's desperately needed. This includes enhanced network capabilities, video communication, and secure access for researchers working in the field. I'd like to thank my co-sponsor, Representative Stevens, for supporting our bipartisan effort to protect our nation's scientific edge and security. Today, let's take a critical step to safeguard our research fleet, protect our data, and secure the future of American science by supporting the Anchor Act and allowing it to move forward. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. And now I'd like to recognize the ranking member, Ms. Lofgren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to briefly thank Mr. Fong and Congresswoman Stevens for their leadership in reintroducing this bill. Congresswoman Stevens had to go to another committee, but I wanted to particularly note her bipartisan work with Mr. Fong and thank them for that. I support the bill and yield back.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. If there's no further discussion on the underlying bill, we will proceed with amendments in the order listed on the roster. No amendments were pre-filed for this bill. Does any member wish to offer an amendment at this time? Hearing none, a reporting quorum being present, I move that the committee report H.R. 1223, the Anchor Act, to the House with the recommendation that the bill be favorably approved. The question is on favorably reporting H.R. 1223 to the House. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the bill is ordered favorably reported. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. Pursuant to notice, I now call up H.R. 3029, the Nucleic Acid Standards for Biosecurity Act. The clerk will report the bill.
H.R. 3029, a bill to amend the research and development.
Without objection, the bill is considered as read and open for amendment at any point. Does any member wish to be recognized to speak on the underlying bill?
Representative Salinas.
I now recognize Representative Salinas.
Thank you, Chair Babin and Ranking Member Lofgren for holding today's bipartisan markup, and thank you to Congressman McCormick for partnering with me on the Nucleic Acid Screening for Biosecurity Act. American biotechnology companies routinely produce nucleic acids, including DNA and RNA, for use in critical biological and medical research. These provide scientists an important tool to study gene function, develop novel vaccines, improve diagnostic tests, and so much more. Companies like Twist Bioscience in my district are pushing the envelope to accelerate and scale up production, which in turn will facilitate faster discoveries. And this field advances, particularly with the deployment of AI systems to design nucleic acid sequences. We need to double down on efforts to ensure the technology is used safely and responsibly. This bill authorizes NIST to carry out measurement research and lead consensus-driven standards development to minimize risks while preserving users' access to these valuable research tools. But before I yield back, I do want to acknowledge the striking dissonance of today's hearing in the context of the Trump administration's recent actions. Those of us in this room are working so diligently in good faith and across the aisle to advance common sense policies to ensure the U.S. continues to lead the world in science and innovation. Meanwhile, the current administration is pursuing budget cuts and mass layoffs at the very agencies we are tasking with this critical work. I recently led multiple letters to the administration raising the alarm about cuts and layoffs at NIST, which provides critical supports to Oregon small businesses and manufacturers. Yet today we're considering this great bill to provide NIST more responsibility at a time when their capacity to carry out existing work is terribly under threat. I deeply appreciate the committee's bipartisan support for our federal research and development ecosystem, and I hope that my colleagues on both sides of the aisle will stand up for the current work of these essential science agencies. We must continue to advance important legislation despite unnecessary setbacks imposed by the current administration, and I urge my colleagues to support this legislation. I yield back.
Now recognize the ranking member from California.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to commend the Congresswoman for this bill. You know, we lead the world in standard setting, and I think that is an approach that we too often don't appreciate. I recently had the privilege of spending an afternoon at Stanford University's biotech lab, and they're doing some cutting-edge, amazing work at that lab. And while I was there, I saw a sign that one of the scientists had posted, and it says, Orville Wright did not have a pilot's license. The idea that you're going to license innovative technology is oftentimes quite misguided, but the technical standards are essential. And so I really want to say to Congresswoman Salinas, good work. Thank you for doing this. The scientists thank you too. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you very, very much. If there's no further discussion on the underlying bill, we will proceed with amendments in the order listed on the roster. No amendments were filed, pre-filed for this bill. Does any member wish to offer an amendment at this time? Hearing none, a reporting quorum being present, I move that the committee report H.R. 3029, the Nucleic Acid Standards for Biosecurity Act, to the House with the recommendation that the bill be favorably approved. The question is on favorably reporting H.R. 3029 to the House. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the bill is ordered favorably reported without objection. The motion to reconsider is laid on the table. Without objection, I ask that staff be authorized to make any necessary technical conforming changes to these bills. So ordered. Members will have 2 calendar days to submit supplemental, minority, or additional views on these measures. With no further business before the committee now stands adjourned. Thank you.